Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the Alexander Valley Film Festival, the 6th annual, that is. My name is Catherine Hecht, and I'm the Executive Director of the Alexander Valley Film Society. It is my absolute pleasure to welcome you here on this Sunday afternoon. We're in some pretty challenging times out there, and I know the smoke is heavy and the ash is falling, at least here in Sonoma and Napa County. Our thoughts are with all of our friends up in Napa, over in Napa, up in Mendocino, all across the world, really. We know this is it's a tough time, so we're glad you're here with us, taking some time to hear from incredible people with incredible stories to tell. And what better way to do it through a film festival, connecting us all through great stories, amazing people, and maybe a little bit of making the world a better place while we're at it. So today, before we get started, let's thank a couple of sponsors. How about Alon Martin Pire and Johnny Drake, your compass in a complex real estate market, and longtime friends Ron Pavelka and Jane Pavelka of Pavelka and Associates. And to all of you out there who splurged and bought a pass, bought a ticket, shared a ticket with somebody else, potted up to watch films, got dressed up on opening night, are hanging out with us on a Sunday afternoon, or just sending good thoughts, thank you. This is how we're going to make the change, and this is how we're going to get through COVID together and all the other stuff that's getting thrown our way. So without further ado, I am so excited to introduce you to one incredible woman that I love so dearly, who has been a mentor, a friend, an inspiration to me. And then she's going to introduce you to 4 other women that you need to know. And if you haven't seen their film, it should be the next on your list. So please help me welcome to the studio my dear, dear friend and board member of AVFS, Jenny Gomez.
Hi.
Hi, Jenny.
Hi. I'm so excited to do this panel. When you told me to do that I was doing this, I got so nervous because I am super fans of all the women in this film and the filmmaker. And I got real nervous because I have so many questions. I want to take a moment to thank you and to thank Tess for all of your hard work and all the behind the scenes, and Ryan too, and all our wonderful community that are part of AVFS. This has been a really great experience, and it's been a crazy time, and it's been wonderful to have this festival in our lives right now.
Oh, thank you. I think it's been a real antidote for a lot of us. So
yeah.
Well, good. I'm going to leave it with you to welcome in your guests. I'll pop them up on the screen for you, and then I'll just be back here working the tech if anything goes haywire, which that'll never happen.
Oh, no. Really not.
Have a good conversation.
Thank you. So here's our dream team right here. I can't stress enough, if you have not watched this film, you need to watch it. It is phenomenal, and you just fall in love with all of these women, and it's through the eyes of Hillary Bachelder, who filmed it and made it, and so you need to watch it. But I'm going to have you guys introduce yourselves, if you don't mind. You can tell us your name, and then you want to say a little something about yourself. That would be great. They have amazing resumes. Everybody has done phenomenal work with community work. They're highly educated, amazing women. But if you want to just tell us a little something about yourself too, that would be great, if you want. So we'll start with Julie.
My name is Julie. I'll keep it really short. So I am, my day job really is, I'm a healthcare consultant. I worked all my working life in hospital settings, and I've never really been involved in politics at all, except for going to the polling booth and voting. So, you know, how I got to run, I really wanted to stay in the great state of Illinois. This, regardless of how you guys out there think, this really is a great state, and it has the potential to become that great state it once was again. And my husband kept saying, we need to move out of here, we need to move out of here. And I really wanted to make sure that I stayed here, and my kids were growing here in Illinois, and that's the reason why I ran.
Well, I love Chicago. I have family from there. My sister got her master's from the University of Illinois in Champaign-Urbana. So I spent a lot of time in Chicago and Champaign. Thank you for being here. We'll go to Myya.
Hi everybody. My name is Myya, obviously, but when I asked me to do this, I'm like, I don't really know what to say because I feel like I don't. It's been quarantine time, so I haven't been doing much. So I feel like I haven't done anything in so long. But I'm a local community activist out of Detroit, Michigan, and then too with COVID, I've been traveling a lot. Like now I'm in Dallas, like right now, but I'm going back to Detroit tomorrow. So I haven't really been like stagnant in one place. So I haven't like been doing the work that I used to do. And then again, I've been on leave from work because it was so much stress because of quarantine and working. If those who don't know, I work at Google now, but before this, I ran a campaign for mayor in Detroit in 2017. And immediately after, I ran a campaign in 2018 for state rep. 2019, there was really no major election happening, and it was a great time for me to kind of take a break, but I was still doing the activism work in the community with the Church of the Messiah through Pastor Barry Randolph. And then I kind of burnt myself out, and then quarantine happened, and then I was just like forced to pause, and it was kind of hard, but at the same time, it was a break that I really needed because I felt like for consistently, not even just for running for office, but prior to that, I was like very active in school with community activism and student activism on campus at Michigan State. But I was just constantly on the go. I never like really seen how it was affecting like my mental health and like my physical health. So take care of your mental and physical health too when you're an activist out here trying to save the world. So this kind of like a long, short story of what I do and what I've done. But like right now, I'm a digital marketing strategist at Google. I have a business degree, if those who don't know. I love business, but at the same time, being the Black woman, I'm forced to like do a lot of activist work to have the same like opportunities as everyone else out here in the world.
That was awesome. See, you had a lot to say. It was awesome. It was great. Okay, well, let's talk, and then we'll go to Bryn.
Hi, I'm Bryn Bird. I'm from right outside of Columbus, Ohio, in Central Ohio. And in the film, Represent, I talk about my run for township trustee in my local town of Granville, Ohio. And also, my family has a produce farm, which I help out on and do a lot of the marketing and account management for my family's produce farm. And right now, I've spent the past decade working in advancing rural America through progressive politics, and continue to do that with rural organizing now. I'm a mom of 3 little ones, and my husband Brian is a transplant to Ohio and learning to love the Midwest himself. So I live very close to my whole little family and in a small town in Ohio.
It's wonderful. Hillary.
Hey, so I'm Hillary. I'm the director, cinematographer, and editor of the film, which just sounds greedy when I say it. But so I've been working on this film in particular for the past 3.5 years. I started filming in 2017 with Myya first. But before that, I've been doing other sort of cinematography and editing work for primarily kind of in the social issue documentary space. I'm typically based in Chicago, so I've worked a lot with a company there called Cartemquin Films. I've been around for over 50 years, have made all sorts of kind of social issue docs. So that's kind of the space that I've been in for a lot of years, and this is my first feature film. It's a weird year to have it get out into the world, but it's lovely to be part of festivals like this. And it feels like, such a kind of, it's like a warm blanket, you know, it's nice cup of tea to like settle into these conversations and be able to, you know, connect with folks who've actually had a chance to watch the film and to see the lovely faces of Julie, Myya, and Bryn again after I haven't gotten to see them in a while.
Yeah, it's true. It was such great timing for me. I watched your film right after RBG passed, and I was so distraught. It was very hopeful, your film, and it was very inspirational. So I just thank you for making it. So that leads me to my first question for you, Hillary. How did it come about? And how did you find all these wonderful women to make the film about?
So I started thinking about making the film in late 2016, really kind of after the election. After the November 2016 election. And I kind of say that the genesis of it was for me when I stepped into the voting booth that November, and I saw the name Hillary on a ballot, which happens to be my name. And, you know, obviously I knew her name was Hillary before I stepped into the, you know, to vote, but just seeing it there was so impactful and was kind of this very random form of representation, but still felt like representation. And so I had this kind of lingering question around what does it mean? Why is representation important? And what does it mean to be represented in kind of in our current democracy? And so into kind of 2017, as you had the Women's March, you had a lot of women, especially on the left, who were getting really excited to run for office. It was building into this kind of the 2018 like pink wave of women who were running. And that really started really early, started really local. And I got kind of plugged into things in early 2017 and started asking questions and meeting folks and just got so hooked. Once you meet these three women, there's no turning back, I guess. I was sort of sucked in and I was along for the ride.
We did a wonderful job. My husband and I stopped the film several times, discussed things. We were so excited. We were really energized by it. And we were like rooting for all of you, just like a sports team. We were just like, when the numbers were coming in, we were just like, oh my God. So it had a great tension. And we just really fell in love with the stories of each of them. He did a great job with that. My next question is for Julie. And I first just want to thank you for being really kind of brave and being this Republican, which I just loved. There were many times where I shouted like, just join our side, because I'm Democrat. But I have to say, you made really good points, and I loved what you were doing, and I loved the gerrymandering issue. I think that's so important. And hearing your story and why you're a Republican, it made me really go, oh gosh, that's wonderful, and that you want to make the Republican Party better. I would just really applaud you for that.
Thank you.
I just want to know, like, you were so brave. Like, people were so angry at you, and and Bob, I was thinking about Bobby. It must have been difficult for him. How did you guys handle? I mean, you had such grace, and it made me feel so proud to be an American to see that we could have both sides, and it was great. So, what was your kind of takeaway from that? How did you stay so brave through all of that?
I think so. I first of all, I learned about myself that I really do have thick skin, which I didn't know before. But I think the way Bobby and I took it, I don't think we took any of that personally, and I think that's why it was possible. And I really never really got hurt by anything that anybody said, because it was really against what any negative comments that anybody made was against this entity of like Republicans, right? That they were thinking of somewhat of an abstract sense, not to either Julie or Bobby individual people. Mm-hmm. So we were both Bobby and I, we were able to make that distinction very clearly. So I didn't take anything personally, and I didn't really get hurt by that. I think what surprised me a lot was even in the township of Evanston, which is probably the most Democratic area in the entire state of Illinois, nobody really wants a one-party system. Everybody wants to see more than two, in fact, right? Competing party system, because that's better for our state, for our country. I think they can't get over the bias. It may not be biased, because it's actually, to a certain extent, it's true that, well, I don't want to support the Republican Party because it's all old white men. Well, I'm not any of those, and if you really want to change the face and the profile of the Republican Party, then you got to start voting for people like me. And that was the hurdle, the obstacle that it just had. The voters had a little difficult time getting over, right? So, but other than that, I think I enjoyed it. It was a brutal 2 years of my life, but I don't regret it at all. It was an experience of a lifetime.
That's very well put. I agree with you on that. So my next question now is for Myya. One, I have a couple comments. I loved your team of women that you had. Your rap was so unbelievable. I think you need to do more. And that photo of you guys all just standing there was just so inspiring. And I guess too, this kind of ties into the Black Lives Matter movement that's happening. And when you talk about Detroit and losing that culture, we're seeing this in Oakland, where we're seeing gentrification happening in Oakland, and we're losing this sort of wonderful cultural center for Black lives in that community. Is your activism, how do you integrate with people who want to help preserve that culture, but also we're also part of the problem? So I'm just really looking for some insight into that. Like, how do we keep that amazing culture vibrant and also invest in it, but without ruining it?
I think the biggest thing with that, because before I graduated, I was actually working at the same time as running for office with this company called Midtown Detroit that was supposed to be doing like community engagement and involvement in the process of trying to build downtown in Midtown Detroit. But in actuality, they were just doing things they thought was for the community, but the people didn't necessarily move there. So how do you have people who did not grow up in this area telling people what they thought was good for them, and then you're not asking them for input to put things into motion, but you're telling them basically what you're going to be doing, and they have to accept it. So I'm going to get a lot of slack for saying that, but I really don't care. But that's the whole point. Is like you have to say stuff that people don't want to hear sometimes, because a lot of time, like even in urban planning, a lot of people who are in these urban planning classes are not people who are from urban areas. Like only 13%, I'll round it up to 14% of Detroiters have an education higher than a high school diploma. So you don't have people who are going to get educated to figure out how can we build upon this area and then make our community better, because you have other folks who are coming from the outside putting their 2 cents in about what they think is best when they don't even understand the system or what to fix in the first place. So I feel like people who want to help out, you should put people who in leadership positions who are from the area so that they can actually impact change in their community. Because one, you probably don't know as much as they know because they grew up there. They understand what they're missing out on. They understand what they want to see. And then two, it gives a chance for the kids there to see that their own people are able to build themselves up, and they can see themselves in those positions too. So we have this thing called the white savior complex, because why? Anytime we see good stuff happen, it's because a white person moves into our neighborhood. Like my neighborhood didn't have stop signs for a long time. And I live in in my adult years, I lived in a better neighborhood in Detroit, in the University District, and now it's being gentrified too. And then you have a few people, you see certain people who are not Black moving to the community, and now we have stop signs. But why couldn't we have stop signs before? Why couldn't we have speed bumps before they moved into the community? So people just have to care about Black lives first and foremost, because we shouldn't get all these resources. Now I always talk about access and opportunity and being provided the same resources as everyone else, but you don't see that happening until folks who are non-Black move into a community. So people, one, again, just care about Black people. We deserve the same things as everyone else. And then two, if you want to help out, you helping out is not you telling us what to do, it's putting us in a position to help ourselves and show our kids they can step up and do it too. So that's my short version.
Well, that's a good version. I find this conversation very important, because I think America is these amazing cultures, and when you see gentrification happening, it's infuriating. San Francisco has been almost destroyed by it, and I don't want it's happening in Oakland. So that's really good advice, and we just have to have more people like you, Myya, just making it happen for us. You're gonna inspire all those amazing women that helped you run to keep doing it. Okay, so then we go to Bryn. I found it fascinating that you call yourself progressive in a small rural town. I live in a pretty small rural town. It's agricultural based. It's wine, but it's very agricultural based. The word progressive here is, pretty dodgy for some people. I was proud of you for doing that in your area, and that people voted for you. Do you find that? So two questions: is it hard to identify as a progressive in your area? Are there other progressives that you connect with? And I was super curious about when you said some people were walking by you at the farmer's market. Who were they that you tended to sort of felt like you lost them as supporters of you?
Yeah. So my county is it's a little over 75% Republican. So yes, it is very hard to identify as a progressive in this area, and putting yourself out there as a progressive can be hard. But rural America, like a populist democracy, and a lot of our democratic backbone for the Democratic Party started out of rural America, started out of the labor of rural America through farm workers and labor unions. And so, I think that while it sometimes seems like a misnomer, it's almost just like getting back to the basics for me. There are other progressives in my community, not many, but they are there, and I am friends with all of them. And we know about each other, and we have secret meetings, not really secret, but we do have some chain. And it's especially hard to be in leadership, no matter where you are in our community, and we do feel the pushback, and we're told there's pushback against us many times. I know other people in leadership position who have been, called into offices and said, we know you're a registered Democrat, and in this community, you need to be a Republican to make it. And so, we feel that pushback. But, Myya, speaking a little bit about people who are always kind of trying to tell, her community what's best for them, and the party and politicians not listening to them, I think is also what's happened in rural America too. I think that Democrats have lost rural America, and progressives have lost rural America in the fact that it's a very urban centric progressives, and the blue vote comes out of more urban areas, and that feels like we are being ignored, left behind, and not a part of the conversation. I wrote a pretty controversial piece a few years ago about fracking in the United States. And I live in an area that early on was being targeted with a lot of the fracking and the environmental issues. And I kind of wrote an article in Civil Eats about, if you really care about fracking, you need to care about rural America. And, urban people are the ones who are saying, like, we, care about the environment. You have to protect it. You need to take care of it. But then they're the ones who are, not supporting rural Americans and rural farmers, and buying local, and buying, U.S. and putting us into these economic disasters that kind of force a lot of hands of a lot of rural people. And so I think, like, that's one of the parts that has always inspired me, is how do we get back to that, and how do we continue to put people in power and people in positions to run their own campaigns in rural America. When I, was running it, my campaign, and other people have run higher campaigns, they bring in outside consultants, they bring in people, who run campaigns in urban areas. And so how do we always try to push back and say that, like, there is a part of having representation from the community that you live in, and having leadership from the communities that, that we're in to push where we are. So yes, there are people who definitely don't love that don't love me being a progressive in my town, and I know don't buy from us at this farm market. And there is even a little bit more controversy. I guess some people somehow missed the memo that I, was a Democrat, and now there's a Biden sign in front of my house. And so all these new people have started some hubbub online, and there was some social media talk even just earlier this past month about, did you know that Bryn Bird isn't a friend of the Republicans? And I watched a couple more people start walking past our farm market sign just in the past 2 weeks. And I feel it, but I also then have the people who come up to me every time and tell me, they support me and they appreciate what I do in the community. And I had somebody on the other side just the other day come up to me and just remind me, like, we care, and we know that at the local level, partisan politics don't play as big of a role, and that, you taking care of our community is most important. But I see it. I saw somebody this week, and I was like, ooh, they're not buying from us for that reason.
It's crazy. Oh gosh, I have so many follow-ups for each of you. But we have some questions from the audience. So, but I just want to say, just on all of your notes, people talk a lot. We're so divided as a country right now, and we tend to focus on these big races. But people don't understand so much of their daily life is affected by local politics. Zoning, when you go to paint your house, changing your garage, all these things that you live and deal with, they're your local politics. And so, and I think we have a place, there's a place and a space for us to not be so partisan and to actually have our voices heard in our communities and get things done. And I think it's a good message that your movie has, Hillary, that, local politics are probably the most important politics in your life, and inspiring people to get involved at a local level is really important. Okay, so let's go to the questions. The first is from Hillary from Heels. So kids play a really wonderful part in this film. Was that entirely accidental or a function of a film about women? And anyone want to answer that one? Hillary?
Sure. So the question was about the role of the kids. Was it intentional or was it just an accident because women were involved? Because women were involved. When I was first, thinking about the film and the stories that I wanted to tell, I was interested in finding candidates from like a wide range of kind of life experiences. And, we have some different generations represented in this group. They ran in all sort of different communities across both parties. But I think one of the things that I kept hearing when I was first sort of doing casting and I was showing up at these events that were like different community groups that were doing training for women who were considering running. And I would ask all the women there, like, oh, you're interested. Have you ever run before? Have you thought about running before? And I just kept hearing over and over and over again, all of these women who would say, I'm really interested in running, but I'm going to wait until my kids are a couple of years older. Mm-hmm. And it was no matter the age of their kids. It was like I talked to women who had really young kids who would say that, kids who are in their early teens, kids who are in their late teens. And it just was such a sort of a concern or a thought for so many moms that I met. And so I didn't want to tell a story that didn't involve, families and family supports and kids, because that felt like such an important one to address. But then I just kind of stumbled onto all of the lovely, basically I don't have kids personally. So it was just like a lot of fun for me to hang out with everyone else's kids. And even though, Myya doesn't have kids herself, I hope I'm still good friends with her, siblings and nieces and nephews and stuff. And I just, so it was something that I fully enjoyed. And it was probably a function of my thinking that all the kids were so cute that I kept, there would be like a scene, I'm like filming Myya or whatever. And then I'm like, the camera's drifting over because Chrissy's doing something really cute in the corner and I can't not film that. So partially it was, perhaps my own distractibility. But it felt like an fundamentally kind of important thing to include in a film about women running for office.
Yeah, I would just jump in if you don't mind. I think with that, what Hillary said too, like the kids will put themselves in the camera too. Like I remember when we were watching it in my backyard, we had like a little viewing with my family and friends. And I remember the scene with Oscar and RJ and Chrissy eating the ice cream. And I'm getting teary-eyed because it was just so cute. And Oscar, he's so much taller now. Like he's basically a grown man. So it's just a big difference in seeing like how inspired they were. Like they wanted to be a part of the campaign. It was free help for me. I used to pay here and there to help me. They would like help me make the signs. We would canvass the neighborhoods together. Like they were a big hit when it comes to talking to people too, because people love kids and they're not going to be mean to kids. So, and plus I'm a big sister. So people don't know, like I'm the oldest girl. I have one older brother on my mom's side. So for me, it was about just being a role model to them and showing them like firsthand, this is how you just get involved in the community. It's really not that hard. And I still like people know I lived at home with my family and I was helping like balance that too with my mom, with them in school. But it was just about finding a way to incorporate them and make them feel important because they want to feel important too. And then show them like you can be involved in your community and still do like basketball and still do volleyball and soccer. So like it was real fun. And they would just throw themselves in the camera whenever Hillary comes. They're like, oh, Hillary's here. So they loved her.
That's awesome. You can feel that spirit in the film. Okay, we have another question. Gail from Chicago. She says, this is by far my favorite film in the festival. Thank you so much for sharing your story with these women. And then she wants to know, what are you guys up to? What's next? So for everyone, Julie, you want to say, everyone wants to know if you're running again. People want to know if you're running for a different office. What's the plans? We're all dying for the follow-up.
I haven't ruled it out. The plan always was with Bobby that we would run 2 terms. So in 2020, our plan always was that I was going to run again, regardless of what happens in 2018. The reason that I did not run is because my kids at the time, who were now 6 and 9, the 2 little kids of the 3, the oldest was okay, but the 2 younger ones were saying, I really miss you. No, please don't run. Please don't run. You were never home. And, we miss you. I miss you. And, it's like my husband was telling me, like, don't worry about them. If you want to run, if you feel that it's important, then, you just go ahead and run. They're going to be fine. I'll take care of them. So it was not pressure from anybody else but my own kids who, I would be a hypocrite to say, they're not important. They're not the most important, factor in my life. So when, even the reason that I ran is because of them, right? Because I wanted them to grow in Illinois. I didn't want to have to move to Wisconsin or with India or any other state. So if I was running for their sake, for their future, and these guys are telling me that they miss me, they want me to be around, and they don't want me to run, then okay, then I'm gonna rethink, reevaluate this thing. So that's why I didn't run. So yeah, so I haven't ruled it out. To now, my youngest one is saying, hey, I think it'll be cool for you to run again, for something. And I don't mean this year, but I think you should run again, and I'll help you. I'll walk with you. This is my now 8-year-old saying it. So yes, I will probably. I haven't ruled it out. Thinking about running someday for something, but I don't know when that will be and what that will be.
Excellent. That's a good answer. How about you, Myya? Are you thinking of staying in politics? Or are you going to maybe go more of the marketing and community outreach work still? Or
I'm doing all of it still. I don't like to. It's an interesting way you can blend the two together. One, the Democratic campaign, I feel like, has a horrible marketing skills, and that's a great skill that I can take to politics. It's a whole other conversation, but I'm also running for office too. I told everyone one of the biggest struggles was raising money during the campaign, and that's where we felt like we lacked the most. So we had to get people motivated and have them volunteer. So I said I would only run for office again if I was to have funds to actually run the campaign without struggling, because it's a very big mental burden, like I said before. And then one time I almost got evicted because I was using my money that I did have coming in to pay for campaign stuff versus paying for my rent. And I couldn't find like I was subbing too. I couldn't find like a job that had income because people didn't want to hire me because either I was too qualified for the jobs I was running for, or oh, look at the
right, you can come in, it's fine.
Or I was running for office, so I couldn't work for different campaigns or actual like public offices. So right. If I had get the money for it, I would run for office again. I'm not going to say what, because Detroit politics is so messy. And then if I was to say something right now, they'll be like trying to stop me and plot against me. So, yeah.
Well, when you run again, which I think you should, you have to send us here in Northern California. We'll give us your website because we'll donate money to your campaign. Don't forget about us. You have fans. We're watching you. So don't forget, we'll support you. Okay, how about you, Bryn? What's next for you?
I'm up for re-election next year as township trustee, and I do love this job a lot. So I am planning on running again, and I've been approached a lot about running for higher office, and even what was really sweet when people were being gossipy in town this week or this past month, a bunch of people were like pushing me, saying if you ran, we'd still support you, even if you are on the other side, because anything higher, I'd have to be partisan. And it would take a lot in my community just because of living in a very, we do live in a very gerrymandered district, which Julie knows how that is too. But, there is talk that might be changing over the next 3 or 4 years. So I'll keep my options open. I work in organizing in my other job too. So I do love that I'm always in organizing world and doing other organizing around progressive politics in rural America. So I'll always stay in that. and love that work. But I do hope to be trustee another term because it's really fun. And the big news now, Hillary, is that in my community we're changing so we can have natural green burials. And I'm very excited about this. And it's something that as trustee we get to work on. And I know that sounds so weird, but it's something that I'm really excited about. You know, stormwater ditches and natural green burials. And so I'm really excited about that. And I don't want to leave too early and not be able to see that the whole way through.
I see t-shirts. I think that could be really good. That's awesome. I think that's amazing you're doing that. Hillary, tell us what's next for you, and then I get to have one more quick question after that. What are you up to? You making some more films? What's going on?
That's a good question. I'm ready to make all of the sequels for each of these women and what they do. I'm like so invested in all of their careers and also like all of the community. Like I know, so yeah, I'm however many 100 miles away from Granville, Ohio, but like I know so much about the local politics and the goings on. So I'm like, yeah, I'm there. The fire station is finally getting built. Like, okay, I got to come and film. Come and film that. It's hard to put the camera down. Yeah. But I think, no, I'm sort of exploring what is next. It was a weird, like I said, it's sort of a weird year to wrap up a project and get it out. And so we've been doing a lot still with the film, and we're hoping that it kind of continues to have this robust, we call it like an impact campaign, because we don't want people to just watch the film and go, that was nice, and kind of not make the changes that I think our democracy so desperately needs. So we're still doing work to kind of make this film a call to action. But then I sort of made the choice not to jump into another documentary that I'd be directing myself right now, because it is a tough year to try and do that and to do it safely. Mm-hmm. And so I'm just kind of, I'm working on some other, work for hire projects, and I'm keeping my like Google Doc of grand ideas for future films. That tab's always open on my computer as I figure out what is next. Cause I deeply love politics and local politics, but the fun thing for me about being a documentary filmmaker is that you kind of get to pick and choose, like, I'm really into politics and I want to make a film about that, but I'm also like, I think space is cool. And, I've had this idea for a while about kind of developing something around space programs in developing countries and what those look like and what, so it's like a completely other kind of offshoot. And all of those grand plans are currently tabled, but hopefully 2021 looks like a better year for all of us.
Crossing fingers. Okay, yeah. We have to wrap up, sadly, because literally I could talk another probably hour, but we're going to wrap it up. So this is just kind of a quick lightning round. It's a thing I call it hooray, like a good thing. Like, we have a lot of heavy stuff going on right now. We've got, I don't have to list them all. We all know. But what's something good? We have people watch and come to this festival that are students all the way through 100 years old. What's something that you could share that's a bit of good news, something that brings you joy, something that you want to share that's a hooray for you? And anyone, when you think of it, you can. My hooray is this. I think that having these conversations with people like you, even though we live in different parts of the world, I feel so connected to you, and beginning the conversation, and I deeply feel as Americans, we are much more connected than we're told we are. And I just enjoy conversations with people willing to just make a mistake and grow from it, and for us all to move on. And I sense that in all of you, that you have that same camaraderie, and I'm grateful for that. So that's my hooray, getting to have these kinds of conversations.
I think my hooray, and I kind of came to this and shared this with Hillary and stuff recently, but when I was thinking about running, and I had just had my second, and it was an image from Liz Brown, which is Senator Brown's daughter, Liz Brown, who's a Columbus City Councilwoman, and it was a picture of her with her 3-week-old baby voting for herself. And that picture, that image, is what gave me the courage to run. And Hillary always is taking still frames out of the documentary, and many of them are of me nursing my child, like both of my kids, always, everywhere. And I never went into motherhood, and I never went into my job ever considering myself like an advocate of, taking your kid to work with you, or just making children and motherhood, normalizing motherhood. And the images that Hillary has shared continually of me nursing at all these events of rooms filled with hundreds of men and being the only woman, I've had more people reach out to me and share how helpful that was. And so that's my hooray about this whole thing, is that the image of Liz voting helped me have the courage to run. And I hope that the image of me nursing my kids everywhere in rooms of many men just give women courage to put themselves out there and not to hold back just because, you know, motherhood is sometimes put away into a private room.
Mm-hmm.
I can go next. My hooray kind of connects with like Brittany from, I think it's San Fran. I mean, when she asked like, how's your life changed with new recognition since COVID? It's kind of weird, like Hillary said, because like it's an interesting time. So the film is like virtual. We haven't been able to like go out and connect with folks. But being isolated has made me realize, like, how, as I mentioned before, how much my mental health is important, because for a minute I used to tell Hillary, I don't want to do this anymore. Like, I'm tired of it. I used to get really like teary eyed. Like, I'm 25 now, but I was 22, 23, 24 years old trying to change this big city that's filled with so many problems that's been going on for centuries. And I'm just one young Black girl, poor with nothing, trying to change stuff. And I didn't realize how like it affected my mental health and how much it affected my physical health and the things I was eating, and how that really played into the fatigue that I was feeling, and how I didn't want to do it anymore because I felt like I probably will have an aneurysm from all the stress that I'm feeling. So me being able to be isolated during this time, I've been watching well, first off, I gained 20 pounds during COVID. Let's put that out there first. But then after I got over everything and the sadness and the depression, it's like, okay, I need to be better so that I can do this work, because people are trying to do it and we're all feeling fatigued. We're all tired. It's not just you. You're not the only person I thought I was the only person, but you're not the only person. So how can you be better so you can show other folks how to be better, so we can keep on doing this work consistently, because it's not going to change tomorrow or next week or even next year. So it's given me time to really reflect on myself and the things that I've done and how I push myself too hard and not taking breaks and taking care of myself, so I can show other young activists, okay, it's great that you want to do this work, but take a week out for yourself to like do some self-care, do some meditation, make sure you're watching what you're eating. Detroit is a food desert, so make sure that you're not eating a bunch of processed food, eat a lot of fruits and vegetables. So it's been a lot of stuff in one. I even created this community called Young People for Black Lives that has like 30K people, and I've done nothing with it yet because I was just so exhausted. I just needed a mental break. But I'm really ready to jump back into everything virtually and figure out how this is going to work, not being on the ground running. And just been very blessed to be able to have this self-realization moment due to COVID, although how unfortunate it is, but I've been able to like do some really big self-reflection to keep on with the movement.
That's a good hooray. That was a good one.
So to be completely honest, when Hillary first invited us to the very first film premiere and Q&A, and I was like, oh gosh, I don't know. I was a little nervous because I'm the only Republican. Everyone's going to be probably Democrat, and everyone's going to hate me. And I've really gotten nothing but positive feedback, and everybody's, it's like, I'm glad you were in. We supported you watching the movie, watching the film, and we really cheered for you, just like what you said, Jenny. And I remember this one incident during my campaign. I went to an Evanston racial equity meeting. It's a town hall, like kind of a town ward-wide meeting. So when I showed up, I mean, it's of all things, the racial equity meeting, and I show up, right? As you can see, I'm a minority myself. And some white women walked up to me and said, I know you, you're Julie Cho, you're a Republican. This is Evanston. Why are you here? So that was like immediately, even before she knew, she had never had talked to me about it, but she knew that I was a Republican because I was campaigning. And that was like the first reaction that she had towards me. I had a conversation with her for about 10 minutes. And then when she walked away, it's like she still wasn't going to vote for me, but she said, I'm really glad that you're running. And I would really like to see more Republican candidates like you running. And maybe I'll vote for a Republican then, right? So I think, like, what you said, Jenny, I think we're a lot more connected than we are told we are. And I felt that a little bit as I was talking to the voters who would be initially against me just because I was a Republican, but then after we have a conversation, they're like, oh, okay, I'm glad you're running. And now when the film's released, and everybody who I know would not be Republicans would give me positive feedback, like we really supported you through the whole movie. So that's my hooray moment, where like I feel like, okay, this country has hope.
Yeah, that is true.
Yeah, I'll try and be really quick, but I'll just say that I think like hearing again, part of the hooray I'm holding on to is for the day sometime down the line when we can all be in a room together, watch it in a theater, and like have that moment where these three get to stand up and like hear the applause in the room for them. But in the meantime, like it really is, I've loved how many folks are just like, oh my gosh, I never thought that a Republican would win me over, but like I love Julie, and I still have some questions. I don't fully know if I'd vote for her, but I really respect her and I understand her and like I appreciate her. And hearing everything that Bryn is sharing too about like, yeah, the other women, the other moms who are connecting with that imagery. I mean, it's exactly what we wanted to do with the film and with it's kind of the last scene of the film. It's one of the last images we see. That's exactly what you hope people are taking out of the film. And I had such a moment too when I heard Myya had a screening with some friends and family in Detroit in her backyard. And she texted me afterwards to say like, I just re-inspired myself. Like I was feeling so burnt out, and like I got to see, everything that I fought for and like why I did those. And like this helped me remember why I worked so hard and do the things that I do. And so like, truly, I hope, I'm a human being. I hope everyone who watches the film likes it, but it's also most important to me that like these three women like it, and that there's a reason, there's something that they're getting out of the film and out of its like existence in the world, because there's so much that you ask when you're a documentary filmmaker who just like drops into someone's life and you're like, hey, open your doors to me. Like, I'm going to film you when you're really tired. I'm going to film you when your house is messy. I'm going to film you when you're really sad. Like you're asking so much from the people, and they put so much trust in you when you're asking them to come on board and be in your film. So it's just, it's wonderful and important and reinvigorating to know that there's, that they're all happy and that there's something that they're still getting out of the stories being out there.
It just made me teary-eyed. I'm trying not to cry because I can't get no tissue.
You guys, I could go on and on. I mean, our final hooray is that this is why we want film and art. It brings our stories together and knits us together into the society that we have. We have a really great place, and we just need to keep making it better. We need to bring people in and hear their stories and make these equal level playing fields for people and share our stories. And I just think you guys are all really brave, and I really thank you for doing it. And I'll stop talking now because we're not supposed to talk anymore. It's over.
No, there's no easy in. I'm coming to wrap it up, but I just echo everything Jenny said, and it's been so special to have you all here. I do wish we could be together, but I just know it's meant a great deal for people to have access to the film and be able to meet you virtually. So, and by the way, for those of you who don't know, Hillary's going to be closing the festival with us tonight on a social justice storytelling panel at 8 p.m. Pacific time. And because of circumstances being what they are out here, we just decided to go completely live and live stream across social media, Facebook, YouTube, the whole thing. And then we're going to have filmmaker awards and give away $3,000 to storytellers. And I'd love for you all to join us if you have
yeah.
Yeah, we'll be online. So we're going to cut out for now. But ladies, if you would just stay in the waiting room, we'll come back and say goodbye. Jenny, as we move out here, any final thoughts of amazement?
I'm very proud to be part of this festival. I love that Sonoma County, fires and all, we made this happen. You made it happen, so much of your hard work, but it's moments like this. I mean, I've been watching the films all week, and I have been moved to tears multiple times, and I've been filled with joy and hope. And honestly, it's just really helping me to have this in my life. And so I just hope that we get to continue doing this and bringing this to Sonoma County. And I'm just so grateful for everyone's support that's helping us make this happen.
Me too. Now I'm a little teary-eyed and I don't have any Kleenex. Well, listen, Jenny, let's say goodbye to our guests. Thank you, everybody, for being here with us. Stay safe, stay sane, stay connected, and hopefully we'll see you tonight for the closing film at 8 p.m. Vote for your films. You have until 7 p.m. And then, yes, go vote in November. Bye, everybody.
Bye.